and apathy, the seduction of not caring or of self-absorption. And I think that this is that which brought me to Unitarian Universalism, this strong sense of community and working together to make the world a better place. While my mother before her death and my father have moved on from the conservative faith of my youth, I still have relatives who fully embrace that worldview and have wondered sincerely about UU and what it means. To me, UU is a faith, like many, built around love. Love of truth, love of community, love of the world. And it is out of this love that UU fosters and accepts that there may be more unknowable in the world than knowable, and that your search for truth and mine may lead us on different paths, but that we can encourage each other to take that journey together as a shared experience of community, offering support for each other as we discover our understanding of the world and the universe around us. It is out of this love for the world and the people in it that encourages UUs to seek justice and the creation of a better society. UUs strive to lift up the less powerful, to center the less privileged, to embrace the marginalized, so that all may feel welcomed into our community. I feel confident that my faith in the fierce acceptance and love of all would resonate with my parents. And as I stand here contemplating my beliefs, I think about their effect on my own children. I hope that I can foster a sense of discovery, wonder, love, and community for them, and allow them the space to find their own truth in the way I have been able to here in fellowship with this congregation and this found faith.
Andrew, thank you. My sermon or reflection this morning is entitled Living a Neat Life. An occasional guest in our Sabbath services has been Nubs the Barber, a figure out of my childhood in a small Wisconsin farming town, Lancaster, in the late 1950s and early 1960s. Nubs was a free-thinking, chain-smoking, hard-drinking barber with an old-fashioned straight-edge razor to back up his point of view. Nubs was my unofficial mentor in my efforts, only partially successful, to understand the world. Well, it was a hot summer afternoon near closing time in the barber shop. Nubs was busy cutting my hair, which meant giving me a crew cut. His old friend, Old Crow Walker, sauntered in. Two things to know about Old Crow. First, he was always very nattily dressed in a small town kind of way because he ran the town's only clothing store. Second, he had a fondness for Old Crow whiskey, a cheap Kentucky bourbon produced first in the 1830s by one James Crow and today by Jim Beam. Once in the door, Old Crow said to me, "Hiya, kid. Say, Nubs and I have some serious business to conduct." And with that, he produced a bottle of Old Crow whiskey, and Nubs brought out 2 glasses. Old Crow poured 2 glasses, one for himself and one for Nubs. He said, "Here you go, Nubs. 2 glasses. Neat." "What's neat mean?" I asked timidly. Nubs said, "Weber, it means Old Crow and I both drink our whiskey straight from the bottle. No ice, no water, just the drink." I stammered a bit and said, I think my dad drinks it with branch water. Nub said, yeah, he does. Many people do. But you know, we're probably talking about more than just whiskey, aren't we? We're talking about life. I said, we are? Nub said, yes, we are. Now, for once in your life, pay attention. Take life straight out of the bottle, he said, not sugar-coated with prayers and myths and Bible stories. Take your life neat. And also, stand up for the little guy. Got that? Now run along. The haircut is on the house, and Old Crow and I have some serious drinking to do. With that, Nubs pulled down the shades and locked the door behind me. So I guess that's my humanism. Excuse me. So that's my humanism. Straight out of the bottle, with no comforting myths, and with an eye toward helping the little guy. However, while I don't believe in a God, I spend little time denouncing those who do. Why? Because secular humanism is more about helping the little guy than it is about denying God. Scene 1. From my work in Colombia, I have seen many dedicated Christians, priests, more likely nuns, as well as Mennonite aid workers who have taken a stand with that country's poor campesinos, small farmers, and workers. Rather than denounce them for believing in a God, I admire their courage in risking their lives to help these villagers stand up to oppression. Some of these radical Christians have been kidnapped or tortured and murdered by right-wing death squads because of their work. Indeed, Cleveland has been home to a number, two of which are Sister Dorothy Kazel and Catholic lay worker Jean Donovan. These two brave women were murdered in El Salvador by Salvadoran National Guard in early 1980. If we could ask Dorothy Kazel or Jean Donovan why they risked their lives for justice, I suspect they might say something like this. Well, it was our Christian faith and our efforts to live that faith in the real world that prompted us to take a stand with the poor. So, however much I disagree with their theology, I admire its result, their commitment to los pobres de la tierra, the poor people of this earth. Scene 2, April of 1968. I was away at college, in fact, soon to graduate. And this was just about a week after Martin Luther King had been assassinated, so it would have been around the middle of April 1968. My mother called me to tell me that Nubs had collapsed and died on the way to open his barbershop. She then told me two stories about Nubs. Nubs volunteered at the local nursing home. He liked to sit with those elderly patients who were near the end of their lives and listen to their memories and their stories. One day, Sybil Vestman, age 94, stopped breathing. She resumed breathing, but she asked for a priest because she knew her time was short. The minister on duty that night said, he would try and find a priest for her. Nubbs said, "Yes, Reverend, why don't you go and do that? In the meantime, Sybil dear, let's pray. Where in the hell is your prayer book?" The minister gasped and said, "But Nubbs, you're an atheist." Nubbs responded, "Yes, and I plan to remain so. But this isn't about keeping my convictions pure. It's about meeting Sybil's needs, perhaps her last need." When the priest finally arrived, he found that Sybil had died and that Nubbs was sitting there holding her hand. My mother also told me the second story, that when the emergency medical team came upon Nubbs lying on the sidewalk and vainly tried to revive him, they began to argue among themselves about just what were those 6 numbers tattooed on Nubbs's forearm. Some people have lived through hell, and many of them, like Nubbs, take their life neat, straight out of the bottle, no prayers or blandishments. They admire courage in others, no matter its spiritual source, and they instinctively stand up for the little guy, those who have no voice. Well, folks, that's my humanism, my atheism. There is no God, but there's plenty of love. Thanks, Nubbs.
As we prepare to receive this morning's offering, I want to just call attention that during the pandemic, our core of dedicated ushers has dwindled a bit because they haven't had as much to do when things were virtual. And now that we are going to more in-person activities, we may need to reach out to you again. So if you've been thinking about an easy way that you can be of service to your community and have thought that being an usher might be at the top of that list, then you might want to reach out to the church office or maybe just tell enough people that word will get around. I think that's 3. Tell 3 people. And we may be reaching out to you to reinvigorate our usher corps. To those of you that have volunteered at the last minute to be ushers today, thank you very much. Our offering recipient today is Northeast Ohio Voter Advocates. NOVA is a grassroots organization that believes in expanding voter participation so that all voices are heard in our democracy. As Unitarian Universalists, our 5th principle says that we affirm and promote the democratic process, both in our congregation and in the larger community. And yet there are some people who do not have as easy access to participate in our democratic process. And there are even pieces of legislation that are potentially making it more difficult for some marginalized folks to participate fully in the democratic process. So Northeast Ohio Voter Advocates has helped to register thousands of underrepresented voters in food pantries, social service agencies, supermarkets, libraries, correctional facilities, schools, and a local university. They use their own research to maximize voter accessibility for all qualified individuals. And they operate largely on a volunteer basis. As you can imagine, this work takes a lot of resources. And so your generosity today supports Northeast Ohio Voter Advocates and our 5th principle as Unitarian Universalists. I encourage you to give generously.
Why are there so many songs about rainbows and what's on the Rainbows are visions, but only illusions, and rainbows have nothing to hide. So when Tom and some choose to believe it, I know they're wrong. Wait and see. Someday we'll find it, the rainbow connection, the lovers, the dreamers, and me. Who said that every wish would be heard and answered when wished on the morning star? Somebody thought of that, and someone believed it. Look what it's done so far. What's so amazing that keeps us stargazing? And what do we think we might see? Someday we'll find it, the rainbow connection, the lovers, the dreamers, and me. All of us under its spell, we know that it's probably magic. Have you been half asleep? And have you heard voices? I've heard them calling my name. Is this the sweet sound that calls the young sailors? The voice might be one and the same. I've heard it too many times to ignore it. It's something that I'm supposed to be. Someday we'll find it, the rainbow connection, the lovers, the dreamers, and me.
Thank you, Abby and Astrid and Alicia. I invite you to rise and embody your spirit as we sing our closing hymn, We Would Be One. reminder, I invite you to read together our COVID covenant, which you'll find in your order of service. In beloved community, we welcome everyone, absolutely everyone, into this space of worship and fellowship. In this time of pandemic, we covenant to respect one another by considering the safety and comfort of others before ourselves, to respect the policies our leadership has established, and to take all of our steps with one another with grace and understanding as we work to make this a truly safe place for all people. As we go forth today, I know the rain is coming in, we're hearing it's rumbling, but may we be reminded that it doesn't matter how we drink of life. If we drink ours neat, that's great. If we add something to it, that's amazing. But we have principles that bind us together and covenants that remind us of the world that we want to create together. And we can all drink of life abundantly and fully with one another, with understanding, in the spirit of community. Amen, and blessed be.
Tis the gift to be simple. Tis the gift to be free, gift to be free. Tis the gift to come down where we ought to be. And when we find ourselves in the place just right, 'twill be in the valley of love and delight. 'Tis the gift to be simple, 'tis the gift to be free, 'tis the gift to come down where we ought to be. And when we find ourselves in the place just right, 'twill be in the valley of love and delight. Drink to simplicity is gained, to bow and to bend we shan't be ashamed. To turn will be our delight, till by turning we come round right. Tis the gift to be simple, 'tis the gift to be free. 'Tis the gift to come down where we ought to be. And when we find ourselves in the place just right, in the place just right, 'twill be in the valley of love and delight. And true simplicity is gained, to bow and to bend we shan't be ashamed. To turn will be our delight, till by turning